The air on Vardalos tasted like rust and tension. Jared Vale adjusted the seal on his exosuit collar as he stepped off the service skiff, the desolate ridge stretching before him in layered hues of ochre and violet. His boots crunched over magnetic dust as heat shimmered on the horizon. This was supposed to be a simple job: repair a damaged subspace antenna for a neutral relay outpost, get paid in clean Terran credits, and catch the next cargo barge to Foros. Instead, he heard screaming. Not human. He crested the ridge instinctively, body low, toolkit bouncing at his side. Below, in a wide sunken arena carved into the canyon floor, a crowd of armored figures stood in a half circle, their towering forms silhouetted against the sun. At the center of the arena, two warriors circled each other, one male, clad in crimson armor etched with bone, the other, female, limping, her blade held low but defiant. Ilvari recognized the species instantly. Tall, humanoid, adorned in bioluminescent tattoos that pulsed with their heartbeats. Highly ritualistic, highly territorial, not fond of outsiders. He should have walked away. He didn't. The female warrior stumbled. Blood, thicker than human, tinged silver, splashed onto the sand. Her opponent laughed, raising a double-edged ceremonial blade. The crowd roared in approval. Jared didn't know what possessed him. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way she looked at the crowd. Not for help, but with the dignity of someone ready to die on her feet. Maybe he just hated bullies. He slid down the slope without thinking, arms waving for balance. The warriors turned as one, their helms rotating in eerie synchronization. Jared's boots hit the blood-stained sand as the crimson-clad male raised his weapon and snarled something in Ilvari. Jared couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. Get out. The downed woman, eyes violet like frozen stars, struggled to rise. Her blade slipped from her hand, skidding to a stop near Jared's foot. He looked down. The blade pulsed. Alive. It hummed against the sand as if calling out. Without hesitation, Jared bent down and grabbed the hilt. Everything stopped. The air crackled. A sharp intake of breath rippled through the crowd. The female warrior, still on her knees, went rigid, her eyes wide. The blade flared to life in Jared's hand, ancient runes glowing like wildfire. A wave of something ancient and electric slammed into his chest. Visions, instincts of pressure behind the eyes. The weapon bonded. Marked him. The male warrior barked a command, but no one moved. Because they couldn't. Because Jared, unknowingly, had just activated the law of inner blood. The female warrior finally stood. Put it down, she hissed in perfect, clipped trade common. Her voice shook, not with fear but fury. I was just trying to help, Jared began. You took the blade, she cut in. You invoked the right. What right? He asked, confused, and still holding the sword that now felt like an extension of his arm. The right of Kthira, she growled. The law of inner blood. That blade belonged to me. By taking it in battle, you have declared yourself my chosen. The crowd murmured, echoing the word. Chosen. Chosen. Oh hell, Jared muttered. Above them, drums began to beat, slow, thunderous. Somewhere in the ridge, an Ilvari elder raised a staff. Symbols flared across his robes. Jared felt the weight of dozens of alien eyes, their judgments ancient and unwavering. Can I put it back? He asked. No, she replied coldly, stepping toward him. You can only go forward. And with that, Kaylee's of the blood-fanged moon, last of her broken line, placed her palm over the blade he held. The ritual sealed. The crowd bowed, and Jared Vale, human tech mercenary from a dead Martian mining colony, became a political lightning rod, a sacred bondmate, and a walking insult to centuries of Ilvari tradition, all in under 60 seconds. He exhaled slowly. Next time, he muttered, I'm ignoring the screaming. The chamber pulsed with bioluminescent symbols, casting ghostly blue light across curved stone walls. Jared stood at the center, still gripping the sword. His mind raced, chest tight. Around him, Ilvari elders chanted in low, rhythmic tones, a language thick with age and weight. Kaylee stood beside him, rigid, Her armor was cracked, blood still seeping from a wound on her thigh. Yet she held herself tall, her jaw clenched so tightly it might shatter. "I didn't mean to," Jared began, voice hushed. "Silence," one of the elders said sharply. His eyes glowed white, blank but aware. "You have invoked the right. You bear the blade of binding. Intent is irrelevant." Another elder, robes lined with thin silver thread, stepped forward. "You stand now as Kthalari, blood shield, of Clan Moonfang, chosen by the blade, bound to Kaylee's by combat and essence." Jared blinked. Bound? Essence. Genetic keying. Neural imprinting. Soul mark alignment. The silver-robed elder said flatly. "All Olvari weapons are encoded. Ancient tech. Yours now. Hers no longer." Kaylee's lip curled in disgust. "I didn't ask for this," Jared said. "Neither did I," Kaylee snapped. A long silence followed. The elders turned toward her, their robes rustling like dry leaves. "You reject the bond?" one asked. Kaylee's looked at Jared, eyes narrowed to slits. "I do not reject the law," she said finally, "but I reject the mockery of it." "Mockery," Jared repeated, wounded despite himself. "You are not Olvari," she said. "You don't know our rights, our sacrifices, our bloodlines. You stumbled into something sacred. You desecrated it without even knowing." "I was trying to stop you from dying," he said. "And now you've bound me," she hissed. "To you." One of the elders stepped forward. "The bond is made. Rejection is death. Not symbolic, literal. Attempting to sever it forcefully would tear apart both minds." Jared swallowed hard. "So what? We're just stuck together." Kaylee's didn't respond. Her fists were clenched, her breathing ragged. There was something else beneath the rage, a flicker of shame or grief. Another voice, softer, female, older, rose from the shadows. "You both live," said Elder Viral, the matriarch. "That is more than most receive. Jared Vale, you are now Olvari in the eyes of law. You will live with Clan Moonfang. You will train. You will be watched." Jared opened his mouth, closed it again. He'd expected silence. Maybe exile. Definitely anger. Not integration. "I'm not even sure how to be one of you," he admitted. "You will learn," Viral said, "or you'll die." Kaylee's turned away from him then, shoulders trembling. "You have no idea what you've cost me." "Then maybe you could explain it," he offered carefully. Her voice was ice. "I owe you nothing, Taryn." And with that, she left the chamber, trailing blood and broken pride. Jared stood in the center of ancient ritual space, gripping a sword that hummed with alien life, surrounded by beings who saw him not as savior or fool, but as a walking disruption to centuries of order. He rubbed the back of his neck. This went sideways fast. From the shadows, Elder Viral spoke again. "Many things born in blood begin with chaos, Jared Vale. But the blade chose you. That means something, even if none of us understand what yet." The Moonfang stronghold was carved into the side of a cliff, its obsidian towers jutting like broken teeth into the gray sky. Jared sat alone in a training circle, sweat dripping down his back, muscles aching. The sword, her sword, now somehow his too, lay beside him, humming quietly like it had a pulse of its own. Kaylee's watched him from a platform above, arms folded, eyes hard. "Your stance is wrong," she called down. "I'm human," Jared shot back. "Maybe your stance is wrong. That blade doesn't care what species you are. It demands balance. I'm trying. You're failing." He turned to face her, temper fraying. "You want me to be some perfect warrior overnight? You think I grew up learning blood oaths and death dances? I repaired plasma couplers on mining rigs for food credits." Kaylee's descended with feline grace, armor clicking faintly with each step. "You wield Calthera. It bonded to you. That means something. It was an accident." "There are no accidents in Ilvari law," she snapped. He shook his head. "This whole system of yours, honor through combat, bloodlines through ritual, killing as communication, it's insanity." She stepped closer. "It's tradition. It's tyranny." Kaylee's expression darkened. "And what does your honor look like, Taryn? Pacts broken by profit? Wars fought by drones? A species that built faster than light travel and used it to colonize instead of connect?" He flinched. You think we're monsters? No, she said, voice quiet now. I think you're children with fire. He looked away. I didn't ask for this bond, he muttered. But I'm trying to respect it. She circled him slowly, like a predator testing its prey. Respect is not a feeling, she said. It is action. Sacrifice. When you say choice, you mean freedom from responsibility. To us, choice is about who you would die for and why. I would die for people, he shot back. Would you kill? Silence. That's what I thought, she said. He stared at her. You think empathy is weakness. I think hesitation is. They were inches apart now, the tension between them sharp as glass. This bond, he said, it means we're stuck together. But it doesn't mean I'll become you. No, she agreed. It means you must learn what it is to stand beside me. He exhaled, grounding himself. Then, teach me. For the first time, her expression softened, barely. A flicker, like a shadow passing over fire. You won't like what I show you. I already don't like most of what I've seen. She smirked. Good. That means you still have a soul. Later that night, Jared sat by a fire pit within the stronghold's inner sanctum. The stars above were strange, clustered like broken glass on velvet. Kaylee's approached, slower this time. Why do humans cry? She asked without preamble. He looked up, surprised. Because we feel. So do we. But we don't leak. It's catharsis. Release. She sat beside him. We channel pain into bladecraft, into ritual, into memory. He looked at her, genuinely curious. So what do you do when you lose someone? Her voice was like iron dragged across silk. We burn their weapons. We brand their names into our bones. And then we fight. He considered that. Maybe we're not so different. You burn steel. We burn inside. Kaylee's didn't reply immediately. Then, one day, you'll have to choose between your heart and your code, your feelings and your function. He nodded slowly. And you? Already did, she whispered. The council chamber of Moonfong pulsed with energy. Holographic banners floated above the stone table, displaying old battle glory scenes. Warriors clashing in midair, blood rituals, sacred duels. Jared stood at the edge, posture stiff, aware of how his very presence bent the air. Kaylee stood beside him, arms folded, eyes locked ahead. Before them, 7 elders in tiered robes, their faces lined with time and war, sat in judgment. Elder Viral was the first to speak. The Rekhal clan has encroached upon our borders again, this time with justification. Jared frowned. What justification? You, growled Elder Jor the War Mind. They claim your bond with Kaylee's violates sacred territory law, that a non-Olvari wielding Calthera is a desecration worthy of blood price. Kaylee's didn't flinch. Jared, however, bristled. So what, he asked. They want me dead for picking up a sword. They want Moonfong humbled, Viral said. They seek pretext. We must deny them one. Jared gestured toward Kaylee's. Then why drag her into this? Viral didn't answer. Instead, Jor leaned forward, voice low. Because our bond with you is now our greatest leverage. Jared blinked. Leverage? The matriarch stood. Kaylee's of Moonfong, you are hereby assigned, as emissary of your clan, to the Rekhal front. You will attend the summit in 5 days. You will present your chosen and demonstrate the strength of your bond. Kaylee's went rigid. No. The word cracked like thunder. I will not parade before those vultures with a Terran at my side, like some trophy bond. You swore yourself to the law, another elder said. You accepted the bond. He is yours now. I accepted the law, she snarled. Not this manipulation. Jared stepped forward. She's not property. She didn't choose this. Viral met his gaze calmly. And yet it was done. The galaxy rarely waits for consent, Jared Vale. Politics even less. Kaylee's turned toward him, fury and something more, betrayal, in her eyes. You don't understand, she whispered. This was supposed to be mine, my path, my command, my name. Now everything I do is filtered through you. I never wanted, but you are Jared, she snapped. You exist in this, and now I have to drag your name, your species, your softness into a hall of wolves because my elders decided you'd make a good weapon. Jared's chest tightened. Then say the word. I'll walk away. She shook her head, bitter. The bond doesn't break that way. You know that. The chamber fell silent again. The elders, unmoved, simply stood. You will prepare, Viral said. Both of you. The future of Moonfong depends on how convincingly you present unity. They left the chamber in silence. Later, in the garden corridors of the stronghold, where bioluminescent trees whispered secrets to no one, Jared finally broke the silence. I didn't come here to ruin your life. Kaylee's looked at him, tired now. Less fire, more burn marks. I know. He exhaled. They're using us. She nodded. They always do. He looked at the blade on her hip. His blade now, technically. It still responded to his presence. But it was clear it had been hers in every way that mattered. Then let's use them back, he said. Kaylee's turned. For the first time in days, a trace of something real flickered in her expression. You think you can play Ilvari politics, Taryn? I can fake it long enough, he said. Just tell me how to stand, where to look, what not to say. Her laugh was sharp, painful. I hope your instincts are better than your footwork. Only slightly. The courtyard trials was ancient, older than Moonfong itself. Obsidian tiles, etched with spiraling glyphs, stretched beneath a sky choked in violet haze. Jared stood shirtless in the center, the air cool against sweat-drenched skin. Around him, clan witnesses watched from the shadows, silent and stern. Kaylee's paced before him, holding a long stave made from veined bone metal. 3 trials, she said. Combat, mind, spirit. You pass them, and the bond is legitimized. You fail, she didn't finish. I bleed out on the sacred floor. Jared guessed. You are removed, she replied, voice flat. Efficiently. He sighed. Of course. The trial of combat came first. Kaylee's didn't hold back. She struck like lightning, low sweeps, elbow slams, spinning kicks aimed at test, not just reflex, but resolve. Jared blocked where he could, stumbled more than once, bled from a split brow and a cracked lip. But he didn't stop. Every time she knocked him down, he rose again, panting, shaky but steady-eyed. You're not graceful, she said, breathing heavily after the 3rd round. I grew up in Martian gravity. Grace wasn't a priority. She smirked despite herself. But you adapt. That matters. He offered a bruised grin. I aim to survive. Kaylee's handed him a water vial. Then keep standing. You're not done yet. The trial of mind took place in the echo chamber. Elder Viral led it. Jared sat inside a circle of whisper stones, each carved with logic puzzles, ancient proverbs, and riddles designed to confuse species without psychic buffering. Kaylee sat outside the ring, arms crossed, watching. Viral spoke. Your bondmate is accused of dishonoring her line. The council demands blood payment, but the only way to save her is to falsely implicate another clan. What do you choose? Jared swallowed. You already know the answer, Viral pressed. But will you say it? He looked at Kaylee's. I'd tell the truth, he said, but I wouldn't stop there. Viral arched a brow. Explain. I'd expose the council's real motives. Then I'd find proof. And if that failed, he leaned forward, I'd steal something valuable enough to trade for her life. Viral chuckled. Creative. Ill-advised. But very human. He turned to Kaylee's. The bondmate thinks like a tactician. And a rogue. She tilted her head. He's both. Not bad, Viral murmured. Not bad at all. The trial of spirit was the last. And the hardest. Jared drank the infusion without hesitation. Kaylee's warning ringing in his ears. It will break your mind. Or forge it. He lay in a circle of elder roots, the bioluminescent bark pulsing like a heartbeat, and the vision took him. He walked through memory, his mother's death in a Martian collapse, the screaming silence of deep space. His first kill, regret, loneliness, every wound he'd buried behind sarcasm and grit ripped open. Then she appeared, Kaylee's, standing at the center of it all, a reflection of war and grief. She said nothing, but he stepped toward her anyway. I didn't ask for this, he whispered, but I won't let you carry it alone. She reached out, and the world dissolved. Jared awoke in the garden chamber, gasping, soaked in sweat. Kaylee's knelt beside him. You walked through your flame, she said, and returned whole. He stared at her. Did I pass? Her nod was slow. You earned the mark. She pressed a finger to his sternum. A symbol burned into his skin, subdermal, glowing faintly with Ilvari script. Now, she said, they can't deny us. He exhaled. Then let's give them something to really fear. The air in the upper training chamber was thick with heat and breath. Jared ducked a sweeping strike from Kaylee's, rolled, and came up into a defensive stance, chest heaving. The glow panels dimmed overhead, shifting to crimson, indicating elevated internal heat levels. You're faster today, Kaylee's noted, circling him. Pain's a great teacher, Jared muttered, sweat dripping from his brow. But she wasn't attacking. Her eyes, they had changed, not just in color, but in focus. Sharper. Too sharp. He lowered his blade. Something wrong. Kaylee's didn't answer at first. Then, I need you to leave this room. Jared blinked. Excuse me. She stepped back, one hand clenching at her side. Her breath was ragged. Now, Taryn. Jared frowned, concern eclipsing his confusion. Kaylee's, are you injured? She snarled. No. Worse. It hit him then. Her posture, the way her pupils dilated, the subtle twitching in her jawline. Something primal, instinctual. She had told him once, in passing, about the Ilvari phase called Vexshar, a biological surge triggered by trauma and proximity after bonding. A heat of sorts. Emotional. Physical. Dangerous. It's happening, she confirmed, voice low. The inner awakening. Should I get the healer? He asked, already taking a step. No, she barked. No one else. Just go. But he didn't move. You're not okay. I'm not safe, she hissed. This phase, it overrides logic. Replaces it with need. Combat. Mating. The instinct to dominate, to fuse. You're bonded to me. That makes you vulnerable. Jared remained still. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. Silence pressed between them, tight and raw. She backed into the wall, fingers trembling against stone. This isn't about romance, she growled. It's biology. I could break your spine without meaning to. I trust you. That stopped her. Her breathing slowed, not calmer but contained. Measured. I don't trust myself, she whispered. Jared walked forward, slow, deliberate, hands empty, palms out. I'm not here to challenge you, he said, or to tame you. I'm just here. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Why? Because you didn't run from me when I bled and broke, he said softly. Why would I run from you now? Something broke in her eyes, not the fierce pride, but the shield beneath it. With trembling fingers, she reached out. Not to strike, not to seize, but to touch. Just touch. Their hands met at the wrist. A spark pulsed between them. Not psychic, not magical, just real. Skin on skin. Heat on heat. I feel it, she said, voice like gravel. It's roaring through me. He nodded. And yet you haven't hurt me. She swallowed. That's because you're grounding me. No one's ever done that. They stood like that, connected at the wrist, breath synced, heartbeat matching the low thrum of the training chamber shields. Eventually, the crimson light dimmed. Her eyes returned to violet. She pulled away, slowly. You stayed. Every time. Kaylee's exhaled and stepped back, control now composed. This changes nothing, she said. It changes everything, he countered. But that's not a bad thing. She stared at him for a long moment, then turned. But before she reached the door, she paused. You showed me mercy today, she said without facing him. Not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough not to fear me. Jared smiled faintly. You're finally learning what Terran honor looks like. Kaylee said nothing more. But that night, when the shadows deepened and the fortress lights faded to dusk, she placed a second cot in her quarters. Not too close, not too far. A gesture. Small. The Moonfong Great Hall fell into a hush as the twin doors slammed open. Jared turned, already sensing the shift in air pressure, the scent of ozone and arrogance. The Ilvari who entered wore armor black as void metal, his shoulders spiked in ceremonial blade crests. His face bore no tattoos, only a blood-red brand across one cheek. Clan Rekhal. Kaylee stiffened beside Jared. That's Tharek, bone voice of Rekhal. Diplomatic predator. Charming title, Jared muttered. Tharek approached, eyes like polished obsidian, cold and unreadable. Behind him trailed 3 silent warriors, all armored and armed, but staying behind the threshold. A show of protocol, barely. "You are the Terran," Therex said without preamble. His voice was deep, serrated. Jared nodded. "Jared Vale." "Problem?" Therex's lips curled. "A walking embarrassment wearing sacred steel. Your kind has no right to bond with our bloodlines. No honor in your marrow." Jared raised a brow. "And yet, here I stand. An accident," Therex spat. "Or manipulation. Either way is stain." Kaylee stepped forward, but Jared held up a hand. "No," he said. "Let me handle this." The crowd murmured. Kaylee's hesitated, then nodded once. Jared faced Therex squarely. "You came to discredit me?" "To expose you," Therex said. "Publicly. I invoke Durith Tai, the right of proving. Duel by flame edge." Gasps rippled through the gathering. Even Kaylee's tensed. "You realize he's not trained for that," she growled. "He accepted Ilvari blood." "Ilvari trials follow," Therex said, smirking. Jared stepped forward. "Fine. I accept." Kaylee's blinked. "Are you insane?" "Maybe," he said. "But if I back down now, every word they said becomes truth." The arena was set by dusk, glow panels arranged in concentric rings, energy fields humming between them. The rules were simple. No kill strikes, but full contact permitted. First one disarmed or unconscious yields. Jared stood opposite Therex, his breath slow, blade in hand. Calthera shimmered faintly, its runes whispering. "You will kneel," Therex said, drawing twin daggers. "We'll see," Jared replied. The duel began. Therex attacked fast, too fast. Jared barely deflected the first flurry. Sparks flew as bone blades skidded off Calthera. He ducked a kick, rolled, came up swinging. Therex caught the strike and slammed a knee into Jared's ribs. Pain bloomed, but Jared held on. He wasn't stronger, wasn't faster, but he was clever. He switched grips, dropped low, faked a stumble. Therex lunged for a finishing blow, and Jared let go of Calthera. The sword fell. Therex's balance shifted. Jared grabbed his opponent's wrist with both hands, twisted hard, and yanked him forward, straight into the energy field. Electric light flared. Therex screamed, convulsed, and dropped both blades. Jared snatched Calthera mid-spin and stepped back as Therex collapsed to his knees, smoking slightly. Silence. "Then yield?" Jared asked, breathless. Therex looked up, eyes seething, but nodded once. "I yield." The crowd erupted. Some in outrage, others in stunned approval. Kaylee stepped into the arena, her face unreadable. "You disarmed a Rekhal diplomat," she said flatly. "He tripped," Jared said. Kaylee snorted. "On your trap." "He stepped into it." You baited him into it." He shrugged. "Terran improvisation." She stared at him, then, shockingly, laughed. Not mockery, not scorn, genuine laughter. "Well," she said, "maybe you do have honor. It's just shaped like chaos." That night, the council issued a formal recognition of Jared's right to bond. Rekhal's protest dissolved in the face of ritual defeat. Kaylee's entered Jared's quarters near midnight. She didn't speak, just looked at him for a long moment. "You protected us," she said quietly. "I protected you," he corrected. She stepped closer. "Thank you." "No," he said. "Just make sure no one else steps into a lightning wall on my watch." The stars above Moonfong Fortress burned like cold fire, sharp, piercing, and endless. Jared sat on the overlook, legs dangling over the edge of the obsidian balcony. The night wind was crisp, laced with minerals and the scent of flowering cindervine. Kaylee's joined him in silence. They didn't speak for a long time. Then, softly, she said, "This blade was my father's." She held out Calthera, still sheathed. Jared took it gently, resting it across his knees. "He was Munfang's battle archon before me. He died on Dreltar during the Siege of Smoke." Jared nodded. "War." "Of course," she said. "Always war. Our enemies had no face. Just machines. Shells with plasma cores and coded hate." Her voice dropped. "He never made it back. Just his blade. Still blood warm. They placed it in my hands when I turned 14. Said I'd carry his line." She looked away. I didn't even get to burn his name into my bone. Jared was quiet, feeling the weight of the blade. My father died in a cave-in, he said eventually. Martian mines. Corporation cut corners. One section gave out. No compensation. No ceremony. She looked at him. He went to work with a thermic drill and came back as dust in a bag. I was 12. Meridian, she said. He blinked. You know them? They tried to buy Ilvari weapons. We declined. So they hired smugglers to stage a war. It failed, but the insult remains. He smiled bitterly. They always find a way to poison something. She traced her fingers along the hilt of the sword between them. What did you become after he died? He didn't answer immediately. Then, a survivor. A fixer. Someone who doesn't make waves until I do. She nodded slowly. I became fire, she said. Unstoppable. Until... She stopped. Until you, he offered gently. Kaylee's exhaled, a strange sound, half laugh, half sigh. No, she said. Until this. The bond. The accident that wasn't. You keep pausing me, making me think. He met her eyes. You hate that. She hesitated. I'm afraid of it. He turned the blade between them, so the hilt pointed toward her. She mirrored him, placing her fingers on the other side. They've both held it together now. Then let's be afraid, he said. Together. The blade pulsed, faintly. Not like before in combat. Softer. Warmer. A hum between two hands that had bled, but never truly touched until now. Kaylee stared down at it. This sword was forged in loss, she said. And now it's held in hope, Jared added. She looked up at him again. I never shared the story. Not even with my sisters. Why me? Because you're already under my skin. Might as well go deeper. He chuckled. Careful. That almost sounded like affection. She smirked. It was warning. The Hall of Unity pulsed with ceremonial energy. Stone lanterns flickered blue and gold, casting dancing shadows over the gathered witnesses. At the center of the dais, Jared stood beside Kaylee's, both clad in formal Ilvari armor, her silver and storm black, his a simplified replica, bearing the Moonfong crest etched into the chest plate. The time had come. Before them, Elder Viral lifted the binding seal, its crystalline edge glowing in resonance with Jared's bond mark. In accordance with the law, she intoned, we recognize the union of blood and blade. Kaylee's of Moonfong and her chosen. A sudden crack split the air. Then chaos. A flash of crimson energy burst from behind the dais, aimed not at Jared, but at Kaylee's. She turned just in time, the blast catching her shoulder, throwing her back against the ceremonial pillar with a sickening thud. Kaylee's! Jared shouted, catching her before she hit the floor fully. Guards drew weapons, but the enemy was already inside. From the side hall stepped Elder Jor, the war mind, his robe torn away to reveal Rekhal armor beneath. His eyes glowed sickly red, and in his hands was a disruptor staff pulsing with forbidden tech. Moonfong is weak, he roared. This union is a farce, engineered by accident, honored by fools. More infiltrators surged in, their armor marked not with clan sigils, but with jagged neutral emblems. Mercenaries paid in blood and betrayal. Get her out of here, Jared shouted to the nearest guard, pressing his hand to Kaylee's side. Blood poured between his fingers, silver and thick. She groaned faintly. She needs a healer now, he barked again. But no one moved. They were leaderless, panicked, fractured. So Jared stood. He ripped the Moonfong crest from his chest plate, held it aloft. Your commander bleeds. I stand in her place. If you follow Moonfong, follow me now. That finally sparked something. The elite guard, Kaylee's personal circle, rallied. 5 stepped forward in perfect formation, weapons drawn. Jared pointed. Form a shield wall. Flank left. Drive the intruders toward the central arch. The guards obeyed. Jor snarled. You think a Terran can command Ilvari warriors? I think a Terran just did, Jared snapped. He ducked another blast, rolled behind a column, and fired the plasma bolt Kaylee's had given him weeks ago, an emergency one-shot rig to his tool belt. The bolt struck the disruptor staff, shattering it and knocking Jor off his feet. The remaining mercenaries faltered. The Moonfong guard surged, cutting them down with ruthless precision. Jared returned to Kaylee's, cradling her head. Her eyes fluttered open. You stole my command. He smiled, heart-pounding. Borrowed. Interest-free. Remind me to punish you later. Gladly. He waved over the medic who finally dared approach. As Kaylee's was taken from the hall, Jared stood again. Blood on his hands, on his armor. Around him, the fallen were counted, friend and foe alike. Elder Viral approached, slow and solemn. You led. I filled a gap. Jared corrected. No, you became the bond. She bowed. Not low, but enough. Moonfong recognizes your authority. For now. He nodded, exhausted. Then let's make sure this never happens again. Moonfong Fortress trembled with aftershocks. Smoke curled through broken corridors as Jared paced the central strategy chamber, armor scorched, hair matted with sweat and ash. Kaylee's was still in the healing ward, stable but unconscious. Without her, the clan's leadership teetered. Elder Viral stood at the holographic map, outlining the damage. Rekhal agents have taken half the southern range. The Skygate is compromised. Our outer clans hesitate. They won't commit unless a unifying call is made. Jared clenched his fists. Then let's call them. Viral him. They won't follow a Terran. Not a Terran, he said quietly. He placed Calthera, still sheathed, on the central altar. The runes flared instantly, spreading across the room in arcs of ancient script. A hidden protocol ignited, a transmission node embedded deep in Munfang's walls. Forgotten by most, locked to a bloodline or a blade. Ilvari Unity Protocol. Calthera is a key, Viral whispered. We thought it myth. Jared turned to her. Can it reach all clans? Yes, but they'll only answer if the message speaks to more than war. He nodded, then spoke. Across Ilvari territory, holograms flared to life. In war tents, market vaults, council chambers. Jared's voice echoed, backed by Calthera's light. To the Ilvari people, I speak not as one of your blood, but as one of your bond. I hold Calthera not as a conqueror, but as a protector. He paused. Today, treason wounded your future. Tomorrow, if we don't stand as one, it will destroy it. Moonfong bleeds, yes, but it still stands. And I will not let Kaylee's sacrifice be in vain. His hand hovered over the sword. I call to the neutral clans, to the traders who lost cargo to Rekhal pirates, to the farmers whose outposts were burned, to any Ilvari, warrior or not, who still believes that honor must mean something. He looked into the lens. Stand with me, not because I'm worthy, but because you are. Then he ended the signal and waited. They came at dawn. 3 neutral clans sent elite units, their banners trailing solar threads. Merchant houses offered fuel, shields, and gunships. And from orbit, a Terran freighter, captained by Jared's old friend Lena, descended with rigged artillery platforms and a cargo bay full of grit. Didn't think you'd call, she said with a grin. I always call when it's suicidal, Jared replied. He stood on the fortress wall, overlooking the ravine below, where Rekhal forces were amassing. Kaylee still hadn't awakened, but Jared could feel her, like a second heartbeat under his ribs. He drew Calthera, its blades singing in his grip. Moonfong, he shouted. You followed Kaylee's by blood. Follow me now by fire. The roar that answered shook the valley. The counteroffensive began at dusk. Jared's forces moved fast, coordinated by mixed clans, traders, and Terrans. They used unconventional tactics, drone jammers, mirrored light projections, subterranean pincer, moves borrowed from Martian mind warfare. Rekhal wasn't prepared for unity. Jared led the central charge himself, flanked by elite Moonfong. His armor bore not just their crest now, but symbols from all who'd answered his call. Calthera pulsed brighter with every strike, as if feeding on purpose. By midnight, the Skygate was theirs again. By dawn, Rekhal was routed. In the aftermath, amidst the wounded and weary, Kaylee's awoke. She found Jared asleep in a chair beside her, blade resting across his lap. You really did it, she murmured. He stirred, eyes heavy. No, we did. The ancient Starlink spire rose like a needle into the storm-churned sky, its obsidian walls humming faintly with dormant power. Once a beacon of galactic diplomacy, it had become a fortress and the final holdout of Elder Jor and the last of the Rekhal loyalists. Kaylee stood beside Jared at the base, armor reforged, her wounds sealed but still aching. She eyed the tower with old fury. "He's rewired the upper console," Jared said, scanning the structure through his visor. "He wants to send a falsified call for planetary reinforcement, claiming Rekhal control." Kaylee's drew Calthera, its glow pulsing like breath. "Then we end him before he speaks." Together, they entered the tower. Inside, it was a death trap. Rewired drones buzzed like angry insects through crumbling halls. Jared tossed a flash charge, overloading their sensors while Kaylee's darted forward, cutting one down midair, spinning to intercept another, her movements a blur of silver and shadow. "Left stairwell's rigged," Jared said, eyes flicking across a holographic readout. "But I can bypass the trigger node if you give me 10 seconds. "I'll give you 5, Kaylee's replied, stepping into the corridor, blades ready. He worked fast, sweat stinging his eyes as energy crackled through the air. A screech, metal on metal, and Kaylee's fell back, shoulder scorched by a bolt. "Done," Jared yelled, slamming his palm to the override. The stairwell seal dropped. They sprinted upward. At the summit, beneath the open starfield, stood Jor, robed in armor etched with sacrilege, the falsified command signal already forming in the air behind him. "You cannot stop the tide," he sneered. "Rekhal will rule because they dare." Kaylee stepped forward. "You dared nothing but betrayal." "And you," Jor said, turning to Jared, "the Terran who holds a sword meant for gods. You think blood makes you Ulvari?" "No," Jared said, drawing a pulse chisel from his belt. "But ingenuity wins wars." He flung the tool, activating its magnetic clamp midair. It latched to the signal console, pulsing rapidly. Jor spun, trying to disable it, but Kaylee's was already moving. She struck low, then high, drawing Jor's defense toward her. He blocked, sneering, but Jared had moved around him. He ducked beneath the console panel, rewiring the relay feed. "I've rerouted the signal," he called. "He can't transmit unless he physically uplinks through the sword itself." Jor turned pale, and Kaylee smiled. They attacked together. Jared's movements were unpredictable. He baited Jor into overextending, while Kaylee's moved in for precision strikes. A coordinated dance, blade and mind, instinct and calculation. Jor fought savagely, but he wasn't prepared for synchrony. Kaylee's disarmed him with a sweep of her leg. Jared jammed the pulse chisel into the uplink port. The signal shattered, dispersed into data mist. Jor fell to his knees, panting. "You've doomed us all," he spat. "No," Kaylee said, stepping behind him, sword at his neck. "We've unbound ourselves." Jared met her eyes. She nodded once. He tapped the hilt of Calthera against the console, marking the moment, sealing the end. Outside, across the system, the tower's signal lit up in truth, not a call for conquest, but for peace. For witness. For justice. Jared and Kaylee's stood at the peak of the tower, wind tugging at their cloaks. "It's done," he said. "No," Kaylee's corrected, sheathing her blade. "It's begun." And when she reached for his hand, there was no fear, only purpose. Please, help me get to 1,000 subscribers. And right where are you watching this video from?